So welcome to Hoop Club box 27, and we're doing this quilted stocking project. So the first thing that you want to do is cut out your stockings. Don't cut on the dotted line, cut just around the edge of the printed colour. So cut all of your stockings out. You're going to be able to choose which pattern you use as the outside of the stocking and which one you use as the lining, but you've got enough to make 2 stockings. So we're then going to cut the wadding out, and we're going to need to pin whatever you've chosen as your outer and then a lining to the wadding. So the wadding gets sandwiched in between 2 of the stocking shapes, and you just want to pin that together because the first job is to do the quilting part. So just get that lined up and then put some pins in the shape just around the edges I've done, just to keep it all nice and aligned while you're stitching it. So you can start to remove the pins as you stitch the quilting, and in fact you could even start in the middle, and that would give it a really nice, you'd make it quite stable, and it wouldn't move, the fabric then wouldn't kind of move from one side to the other as you are stitching. But we are going to be stitching with the cream thread, so you're going to need 2 strands of the cream thread to start your quilting with. So you want to get that on your needle. So you're going to be doing a running stitch down each of the stripes, and you need to keep you obviously won't be able to do it with one lot of thread. You're going to need to keep changing your thread and adding new thread. So keep all the knots and the ties on one side, and then we're going to add the bias binding to the top of the stocking. So you're going to need to cut a length of bias binding just a little bit longer than the top of the stocking, and with the folded edge upwards, you pin the bias binding to the top of the stocking, and the stitch, we're going to attach it to the top of the stocking with another running stitch, and you're sewing just in the middle of that first fold. So as you unfold the bias, you'll see there's a crease, and we're attaching it to the top of the stocking. So the kind of right side of each of the fabrics, the right side of the binding and the right side of the stocking are together, and you're attaching the binding firstly with this running stitch along that top fold, opened out fold basically, just at the top side of that first crease. So just stitch along with your running stitch, pin it in place so that it doesn't move, and attach that first piece of binding. And now we're going to fold over the bias so that it covers the top and kind of goes over the raw edge of your quilted piece, and we're going to start doing the ladder stitch. So the instructions are in the booklet, but basically you are going through the first layer of the fabric, and then you are going across to the binding and pushing your needle through that top fold. So you don't want the stitch to come right through to the other side of the binding. You're just, like I'm doing here, pushing your needle about 1/2 centimetre through that first fold, that edge fold of the binding, leaving your stitches loose. And then once you've done about 3 or 4 stitches, you want to pull it tight so that the binding meets the edge of your stocking. So pull it tight every kind of 3 or 4 stitches, don't leave it like I did. And then you just do exactly the same thing for the other side to top your stocking. So I'm going to link actually to another tutorial where I explained the ladder stitch. I'm not sure if I might have explained it a bit better in the other tutorial. Anyway, we're on to the second stage of the binding, which is to go around both of the stocking pieces to join them together. So you're going to pin your bias binding, and because it's cut on the bias, it will kind of edge around the corners. If you shape it around the corners, it will do that quite nicely, and you pin it in place. So just put in as many pins as you need to keep the bias going around the curve of the stocking. And so you're pinning both of the stocking pieces together underneath this. And we're going to just do the same technique as we did for the top of the stocking and do the running stitch all around the stocking on that first side, on that first section of bias binding. So don't forget to leave your overhang to make the hanging loop and just finish off the stocking at the top. But this is the first part. I'm going to be back with part 2 to show you how to edge the stocking.